Hello one and all, and welcome to Behind the Glass, the podcast which aims to take you behind the scenes of the YouTube channel Seen Through Glass, as well as the automotive and social media worlds. I'm your host, Sam, from that YouTube channel Seen Through Glass. Welcome to another sort of bonus episode. Those of you that haven't been listening to season 3 of this podcast, you may not know that every Monday, a new episode comes out featuring myself and Tony from Gravelwood Car Sales. In fact, we've actually been joined by some guests this season, and that will continue. In fact, those main episodes will continue. Do not worry if you are enjoying Tony and I talking, well, just utter crap, really. It's nonsensical, but it's supposed to be about sort of everything going on in the automotive world. Then yeah, do not fear. Every Monday evening, those episodes come out here on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, and across all the sort of audio platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and there are many others. I often forget which ones they are. So yes, if you are watching, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out. And if you're following, keep following, however you can do that. Subscribe or follow or rate us, rate me. But yes, what are these kind of bonus episodes? Well, I've only done one other one so far, which was an F1 2020 season preview. That was audio only, and the bonus episodes will range from being audio only to video only to sometimes audio and video combined. And it's basically a chance for me to sit down with you guys and talk to you about things that, you know, maybe don't make it into the main episode, or talk about things that are happening but are not making it onto the main channel, the Seen Through Glass channel, because I do a lot aside from the content I'm creating for Instagram and Twitter and YouTube and all these likes. But some of it's really cool and it gets lost or it gets forgotten, and I want to be able to share it with you and talk you through some of the cool stuff I'm doing, but also find ways to kind of grab little nuggets of content without having to try and make an entire video. And that's exactly what happened last week when I finally got to visit the Duke of London, an unbelievably cool dealership, and quite a young, I'm not going to say new, but quite a young dealership here in London town, as the name would suggest. I've been trying to visit Duke of London and Merlin McCormack, who set it up for ages now, I mean, for at least a few years. And last year, whilst I was away during Drive the World, they moved into a new premises, and the premises that just looked amazing. I saw it popping up all over Instagram and a few YouTube bits of people going down there and visiting, and I thought that place looks insane. And whilst I am fully planning to do a main Seen Through Glass video down there at some point, obviously, when I went to visit last week, the weather was crap. I mean, and that's an understatement. I don't know what's happening to me at the moment, but luck is not on my side. Every time I take out a video camera, the heavens seem to open, or Storm Sandy or Storm Doris or Storm Brian or whoever these storms are named after turn up, and it just makes filming hard, depressing, and visually not that engaging. And considering we'd lined up a C63 Black Series as a test drive, driving that around West London in the pouring rain, I don't think it would have been that engaging. So yes, that is to come. But what did happen is I went down, met with Merlin, as I say, the founder of Duke of London, had a bit of a tour, and actually managed to do a bit of an interview with him to understand his story, because, believe it or not, the guy is 25 years old, and I'm sure lots of you are sitting there and hearing that thinking, oh, it must all be just, you know, daddy's money, and he's got to step up in life. His father is in the automotive world, actually sort of, well, I'd say world class. I was going to say UK class. No, anyway, he's a world-class restorer and metal shaper, I think it's called. Anyway, I'll let Merlin explain that more in a second when I run the interview. But he's kind of built this business and this kind of empire by himself. And I say empire because the premises which they're on doesn't just house his dealership, the Duke of London, but a whole load of other companies. And he's been kind of a genius in this sense, because what's happened is he's moved into a property that is soon going to be redeveloped. So he's basically sort of a caretaker. For a few years, he gets super preferential rates for basically, you know, being in there and making sure the thing doesn't crumble down, with the knowledge that he is soon going to be kicked out when the cranes and the diggers move in. But it's such a huge space that there's enough room to bring in other businesses and small startups or creative companies that maybe wouldn't be able to afford West London rent, which, as I'm sure a lot of you can imagine or know, is extortionate, have been able to, you know, get into these kind of spaces. Merlin's rented them out to them. So it's a kind of hub for cool, creative business that range from fitness, gym. There's a guy there who trains a whole lot of Formula One racing drivers. There's Ceramic Pro, have got a sort of base where they're sort of setting up for their new PPF. They've got a paint protection film, a product coming out, but obviously do Ceramic Pro detailing as well. There's a pub, there's a burlesque costumier. I mean, there's just so much going on, including Merlin's dad's business. So Merlin's dad's kind of one of his tenants, which I think, again, has to be kind of applauded and is quite amazing. So yeah, super interesting guy, a very clearly passionate guy about what he's doing. What I loved about the dealership is the range of stock. If you don't follow Duke of London on Instagram, check it out, because the cars that come and go are amazing. And on the day I went down there, not only did he have that C63 Black Series I mentioned, but a 911 GT3, old Land Rover Defenders. I'm forgetting what else. 930 Turbo, was it a 964 Turbo? I can't even remember right now. There was just so much to look at, and it's amazing. But it's the way it's kind of all housed in this slightly derelict looking warehouse, but it's just been perfectly caressed to be the ultimate cool space. It feels like you're walking into sort of like Dominic Toretto's, weird garage from Fast and Furious. Just everything it's just got that gritty but ultimately perfectly aesthetically pleasing vibe. And Merlin sort of dismissed it quite quickly and pretended like, he didn't put much thought to it. But I don't believe that for a second, because if he didn't really put much thought to it, then he's an interior design genius. But the guy's a very cool cat. He spends his time these days driving around London in a yellow Range Rover, kind of more commonly known from the film Layer Cake. If you've never seen that film, great film with Daniel Craig and Sienna Miller. I think it was a Guy Ritchie film, but one of the sort of, I wouldn't call him a baddie, but mafiosi type characters, drives around in this bright yellow Range Rover, and now that's what Merlin does. So yeah, he's definitely got a look and a vibe and a sense about himself, which I think is kind of cool. But he was incredibly nice, very generous with his time, considering I sort of turned up during the working week. And yes, I managed to grab him for a bit of an interview and then a walk around. For those of you that are listening only, the sort of walking tour, I think it works well. But if you're getting a bit lost, hop over here to YouTube, because obviously I did film that walking tour and you can kind of see more precisely what he's discussing and pointing out. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking and let the kind of interviews and walking tour roll. I hope you guys enjoy it. As I mentioned, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. If you're following, please keep following, because regular episodes will return and more future bonus episodes will. Let me know, actually. I'd love to know via Twitter or comment section. What do you think of these bonus episodes? Do you enjoy them? Is it nice to have some alternate content? And no matter what, stay tuned, because there will be a STG video on Duke of London as soon as the weather gets a bit better and I can get down to one of his big events and take out one of his amazingly cool cars. But for now, I hope you enjoy, and I will catch up with you next time for a main episode of Behind the Glass. I don't know if you're going to take offence to this, but I feel like maybe you have an obsession with Guy Ritchie films and the 1990s. Like, I'm waiting for Sienna Miller to appear somewhere, but I don't know where. Is there any truth in that?
I mean, I guess there's an element of truth with this silly car, but yeah, beyond that, not entirely.
No. But there's a feeling here, which I think is super different to any car dealership I've been to, which is like aesthetic, whether it's on purpose or accidental, is as much as part of the sort of, the buying or the shopping experience as actually the cars on display.
Yeah, it was just an amalgamation of stuff that I'd collected over the years, that we finally had a kind of blank canvas big enough to display it all. Both the cars and the kind of artwork and silly neon lights and sculptures and things like that. But yeah, there was no sort of design or thought process behind it. It was just kind of eclectically scattered across the place.
Well, somehow it's come together pretty well. I think it's a cool environment to walk around in. But look, let's go back to the beginning. How on earth did you end up in this sort of position with this huge space doing what you do today? Where did it start?
So if we hark right back, there's kind of a family link, I suppose. So my dad has been restoring cars my entire life professionally. Prior to that, he started out at Merlin Park Ward building Rolls Royces up in Hythe Road in Northwest 10. So it's kind of been a London-centric classic car family. Mum always had cool cars when we were kids, and then when I was 11, I bought my first car to sort of do up and flip. did that successfully and just continued on from there. Obviously there's a lot more to it, but that then snowballed throughout my kind of school career. And yeah, what started out as a £32 car then ended up kind of growing.
Yeah, not being a £32 car.
Nothing
what
against
car
it.
did you buy for £32?
Peugeot 205.
Oh my
Not
God.
bad.
that's a pretty good deal.
I was about 10 years too early before they were sort of modern classics.
I was going to say now, good luck trying to find one of them for £32. But.
And then I left school at 18. I kind of flunked my A-levels, was too busy. At that point I was buying and selling scooters. Okay. Once I hit 16 and was able to ride these things legally, I figured that was the niche that I'd follow, because it made moving them easier and reduced a huge cost of transport where I couldn't drive cars. So yeah, that kept me fed, and then we ended up in a situation where the classic car market really quickly obviously took off, and Dad had loads of clients coming to him with cars either he'd restored or cars they were looking to buy to restore or whatever. He was never really that interested. He's amazingly talented in what he does, but he was never really that interested in becoming a dealer or broker or anything. He's too busy and too good at what he does.
Sure.
And I kind of stepped up and was like, well, hey, look, there's potential secondary kind of income here. Let's pursue it. And I did. And that then led to us opening our first showroom about a year later, adjacent to his then workshop, which was at Kew Bridge. So I opened that when I was 19 and had that for a couple of years. We first started hosting our sort of classic and cake meets there and things like that. Within a year of tenure there, we'd taken on more units opposite and kind of started subletting out to other business and going into business with other sort of small companies that needed a space in West London but couldn't otherwise afford to do it. The reason we were able to exist in that part of town is we were taking on these meanwhile users. So they're buildings that are destined for demolition, owned by developers, but they want someone in there basically to safety for occupation, cover the business rates, bit of rent for them. Okay. And we kind of grew on that and took on anything we could get.
Sure. So something which no one else wanted.
Yeah,
that looks great.
Decrepit shite, but yeah, needed rewiring, repainting, new roofs, everything. So chasing a lost cause, because ultimately these buildings are going to come down. But again, it was a kind of piecemeal way for me to not need to then go to the bank or try and find funding elsewhere, and just self-fund it and see how far I could push it. And ultimately at that point I realised that both with these short leases I was taking on and the fact that I was doing it all myself, I wasn't letting anyone else down if it all went pop. No one really knew what the market was going to do. It was ultimately never going to continue to appreciate as quickly as it was. Of course. But we then wouldn't have too much of a comeback. Still the only member of staff at that point, and there was no wages for anyone else that needs to rely on or anything like that. So yeah, it was a bit of a gamble.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
It's going all right since.
Yeah,
so.
Well, it looks like it. And so, would you say then that? I mean, do you have an interest in the tinkering, like what your dad does?
Massively, yeah.
So you still love that?
Yeah, absolutely.
But you kind of ended up in the sales side.
Yeah. So I don't really get a lot of time to tinker, for want of a better phrase. But my brother, who's a couple of years below me, he's taken to it like duck and water, and he's just unbelievably talented for his age. He works alongside Dad full time. Dad's got a couple of the guys now with him as well, and yeah, so that they're based on site as well. So there's a lot of shared, both clients and work and cars and all sorts going on. And when I can get time, then yeah,
try and go down there.
Exactly, ruin whatever they've tried to fix. They are 10 times.
Why are you here?
Yeah, precisely.
Wait, and we will
I get laughed out the door. But yeah.
And where did Duke of London come from?
I just made it up.
Really?
Just made it up.
That sounds great.
That sounded all right. It was when Instagram first came out. I don't think I've publicly admitted this before, but it was when Instagram first came out, and I was sat there. I remember, sat in school with your phone under the desk, thinking, yeah, completely. I was like 14, and yeah, it just stuck. I don't refer to myself as the Duke or anything wanky, but
I would love if you did. Every time you have to bow when you leave the room. Yeah,
it's just a bit of fun.
Yeah. Well, it's worked and it's stuck, and I think you mentioned very briefly the events that you kind of do to bring the car community together. Yeah. So that's been very successful, I think, since you've moved to this location. Yeah. Tell us a bit more about that.
Well, the dynamics changed massively. So after the first venture at Kew Bridge, we then moved to Brentford itself. On literally the other side of the road from where we are sat now. Another meanwhile space, again we had it for 2 years, and that was where we were able to then further develop the brand. We'd gone from having about 3,000 square foot to 16,000 square foot, so it was again quite quick to grow what we had. Showroom went from a 7-car showroom to a 25-car showroom, and. So then we hosted bigger and kind of better events there, but they've all got like with the classics and cake ones that we've become known for have got a charity spin on them. They're a complete non-profit thing for us, but it's a great way for me to kind of bring the car community together. I got really fed up with kind of not having anywhere to go myself, so back in I think it was 2015, Hannah Burgess and I just sat down and were like, sod this, let's just do it ourselves.
Yeah, nice.
I've got a shitty yard at the time, it was all muddy and crap, but people might come, and they did. So then we moved in here last year, took the keys January last year, kind of tentatively opened in June. We're still on a final push, so this month kind of sees the end of all the building work that's going on here. Okay. We've got a pizza restaurant opening and a few other things going on. Cool. I'll walk you around later.
It's going to be really bad for the diet.
Yeah. We've opened a gym downstairs, so it's kind of...
You've got to play
so once we took this space on, we had space for like provision for about 150 cars in the yard. So it's enabled us to scale the events up. Obviously painted the road blue with the developer Ballymore, who owns this site. It was great idea of theirs that it's worked like brilliantly as a backdrop for this stuff. It's kind of given us a bit more of an identity as well, so I'm really grateful to them for that. But it's helped us kind of put it on the map a bit as a social event for the car community, and it seems to be very well received. And what I love most about it, and what was always our goal, is that you can turn up in some £5 million hypercar and park next to an 18-year-old who just finished rebuilding the engine on his mini Metro, and everyone gets on and everyone's so fascinated about each other, and there's just no bias, no pretense, no dickheads doing burnouts. We've really
people who are into cars
that.
hanging around together.
Yeah, completely.
And that's the thing, I guess, with your stock as well. It's pretty eclectic. I mean, you've got a GT3 back to some old Triumph. I have no idea what it is. So I suppose you don't have a.
We don't specialise in anything, and I think obviously there's a bias towards the classic stuff, but ultimately we work predominantly on a brokerage basis, so we're selling on consignment for people. We do own some of the cars, but it works. It's just a model I found worked better for us personally. And so some of our clients have all sorts of cars, so we're happy to sell whatever, as long as it falls within kind of the parameters, and even right back to projects. We worked with a great client of ours last year, bringing in 20 odd cars from Jamaica, and all of them were shagged. But we sold them on as projects, and found that they all flew out the door because people really want an entry-level 911 or Pagoda or E-Type or
have to get into that whole world.
We've got one of the E-Types left opposite that we sold on to a client, and we're now restoring for him. I'll show you that later.
I was going to say, do you ever go like, by the way, there's a great restorers across the world? It's just over there.
It's quite nice. I think Dad's reputation kind of speaks for itself, and so we're able to, where it's almost gone full circle, where before he was turning away these people looking to buy cars just because he wanted to focus on restoration stuff, we are able to, like you say, team up and see these projects through, which is really fun and exciting. It's lovely type downstairs we've just finished together, and we've got quite a harmonious working relationship, which is amazing.
How does it feel about being like a tenant though? Like, is there like
there's none of that? No, none of that at all. I mean, we've always kind of said from day one, he keeps us noticing, he's the greatest advocate for what I'm doing, and he's been so supportive and helpful, and without him we wouldn't be here ultimately. Same goes for my mum, my brother and everything else, but it's there's no hierarchy really.
Amazing, I love it.
They like to put me in place. He's still my dad ultimately. But
there we go, that's exactly it. Well, look, you've been teasing with all the stuff that's going on, because there isn't just a car dealership here, it's like a mecca of just stuff going on, and we can hear a lot of it. So I reckon let's go on a walk around. Yeah, it's a new roof, okay. Let's go on a walk around and check out all these different bits going on.
All right, son.
Perfect.
So we're upstairs on the mezzanine, which is what predominantly serves as the showroom. We often clear all the cars out of here and lay out banquet tables, and we have a bi-monthly supper club. So we've got a catering business based on site as well that hosts and cook for us. And we've found that once we kind of expected it to be more our clients and stuff turning up to them, the locals have really embraced what we're doing, which is quite nice because the development around here has faced a lot of resistance. So we've able to kind of pacify it a bit. And really bring people on board. We want this space to kind of serve as a bit of a melting pot, both for the locals and car enthusiasts, and it seems to be doing its job. So this has just come in, 2-owner car. First guy was his retirement present, second guy's a big collector who has hardly used it since. It's, in my opinion, the kind of best spec. No aero kit, black, 4 seats. As cool as it is to say you've got the delete in the back, sort of loses all functionality. But yeah, crazy thing. We store a lot of stuff for people locally, and this is just a chap who lives on the dock behind us and needed somewhere to keep his bike, and it's obviously quite a pretty thing, so we were more than happy to let him park it here for the winter. The clock, our Spark and his mum run a company together making these clocks. Learcroft Design. The Playboy poster was stolen out of a bus stop in Berlin for me by someone. The pinball machines from friends, chairs from a dear friend of mine. It goes on. The whole place has kind of organically come together. People, I think at first it was like, oh, he's got some cool stuff, we'll add to it. And now people are actively reaching out to me, just donating things to the space, which is incredible. We're not necessarily asking for it, but it all feeds to the kind of eccentricity of the place, and helps it feel still quite organic and authentic. So we're about 2 weeks away from opening our pizza restaurant. So we've teamed up with quite a well-known chain called Santa Maria. They're consistently voted London's best pizza by Time Out and everyone else of any note. So this, in about 10 days' time, will be completely transformed. We're just having some repairs done to the roof above it as we speak, hence all the noise. And that'll be open to the public 7 days a week. And again, we'll be kind of trying to further incorporate the public into the space. We want people to be coming here and dining. Obviously, we're changing the way the place is laid out. We've got some barriers and stuff, going up some screens to stop people from being able to access the cars, but everything will still be visual. Really, really excited for that. I first met the guys, a couple of friends from Napoli, and they opened the space in Ealing, their first restaurant 10 years ago. And I, as a kid, went there and was a huge fan of theirs immediately. So it's really cool to finally be actually working with them and embarking on a kind of joint venture with them. So yeah, you have to come back for that. So we've got a kind of very big variation of uses throughout the building. So again, more storage downstairs on the ground floor. We're knocking the showroom through later this year into the first floor of the next unit, so we'll kind of double our footprint upstairs just because we're so busy with stock. And the second floor, we've carved it up into about 20 artist studios. So we've got everything from sign writers to burlesque costumiers to we've got a CBD company moved in now, all the rage. At the end of last year, this pub was it came up for grabs. It'd been shut since the summer, so it was such a pain in the arse not being able to walk out of the showroom and get a pint in our local. So we took it on. My mum now runs it full time. She's done an amazing job of it. We've got live music on 6 nights a week, and it was a bit of a last minute decision, but a kind of welcome addition to the fleet. And come into the workshops. We're locked out. Oh. No, they heard you were coming. This is where Dad and Algie operate from. So they're working on this Volvo 122 rally car here that we built and have rebuilt and rebuilt. As every time it comes back from a rally, the owner wants kind of full thing going through, repainted, everything. We call it the Glamazon because it's forever beautified and then thrown out on these mad rallies, making some noise. Bassel Vega here that we're kind of rectifying a lot of work on that had been done in the past. New door skin, new corners going on it and things like that. This is the Jamaican Series 3 E-Type I spoke of. This is one of the E-Types that we repatriated. This was actually the only E-Type ever ordered and delivered new to Jamaica by some chap in the 1970s. You'll see it's kind of a bit Fred Flintstone at the moment. Had a palm tree growing through it and all sorts, but new sills going on, new floor pans and everything else. And then sort of more workshop-y space through here that we're just in the process of setting up, so it's a bit chaotic. We haven't been in this part long. But yeah, stuff going on.
I don't know what it is, but I feel like something special has been created here, whether intentional or not. There's just this kind of like sense that there's something exciting happening, you know. I think it's the fact that there's a lot of different businesses, a lot of different creative minds all in one place. And that's what I think is so impressive about what Merlin's done. It's not just the fact that he's built a very cool dealership for himself. He's sort of created the chance for other businesses to grow alongside him. And at 25 years old, that is, yeah, quite, I mean, bravo. Anyway, I feel like I now need to make a mission for myself to get down to one of the classics and cake events. I think a couple of weeks ago they had a McLaren P1 GTR, a Lancia Stratos, I mean loads of different stuff, but this is kind of a space I want to hang out in more. Like, I genuinely feel like it would be an amazing place to host a few podcasts, and maybe if I spend more time here, I will just naturally become a bit cooler. I feel like maybe I should get a fur jacket now. Is that kind of, I don't even know where you buy one of those things. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I hope you found it interesting. Give it a thumbs up if you have, and make sure you subscribe for plenty more videos to come.